ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, July 14th. Your Drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour is brought to you by Clark's Pumpkin Shop, and you can catch that every day at 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. Coming up on the program today, we're going to hear from Tyler Kennett. He's headed down to Sun Belt Conference Media Days. Of course, the Thundering Herd participating tomorrow. Tyler's going to be there for both days, I believe. I know he's going to be on top of it all tomorrow, so we're going to hear from him in just a few minutes. And until then, we'll keep that text line open for you. We've got baseball action tonight, the All-Star Game coming up. Our airtime is 7 o'clock. It's in Philadelphia, and it's right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Then keep an eye on this World Cup today. Of course, it was France and Spain. France and Spain. I thought it would be France. Not that I am an expert on the World Cup, but I was going with everybody else. The trends are, hey, it's France. Spain won. Just won. Beat France. I don't know if it's a monumental upset, but it's a stunning upset. And France will not make its third straight World Cup final. The other contest will be Argentina versus England. How many of you are rooting for England? How many of you are taking Argentina? How many of you are just waiting for this to end? We'll take all of those comments as well. And again, the text line is open. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So when we talk to Tyler in a few minutes, we'll get his thoughts on, of course, what the coaches have decided. Carlos Del Rio Wilson, your preseason offensive player of the year. And, of course, you have a huge, huge influence on the offensive side of the preseason honors. Herd's going to be well regarded, finishing third, though, according to the coaches in the preseason poll. As we talked about yesterday, preseason polls are great, don't really matter at the end of the day, but it is an indication of what the coaches think the standings will look like. And I looked at that yesterday, and if you weren't with us, East Division is almost chalk from last year. James Madison's picked to win the East. Old Dominion finished second last year, right? Picked second in the East Division. Marshall finished fifth last year, picked third. Georgia Southern finished fourth last season, picked fourth. Coastal finished third last year, picked fifth. And then App State finished sixth, picked sixth. Georgia State finished seventh, picked seventh. So East is almost chalk. Marshall and Coastal Carolina flipping spots here. The West was a little bit more, it could be anybody's division. Troy's the odds-on favorite, getting 12 first-place votes. And it finished last year on top of the West, and it will be picked to finish on top of the West again. Louisiana is picked second, finished fourth in the standings. And again, I'm looking at just how they're stacked. Really, it was there was a glob of teams. Arkansas State picked third. Southern Miss picked fifth. South Alabama, ULM, 6 and 7. Louisiana Tech, sort of the new kid here. It's picked fourth. So really, I think the West Division was a little bit tighter. Not that many points separating. 96 points, 75 points for Louisiana, 69 points for Arkansas State, 55 points for Louisiana Tech, 47 points for Southern Miss, and 31 for South Alabama. Southern Miss did get that first place vote, so did Louisiana. On the east side, it's a little tighter. 67 points for Marshall, 73 for Old Dominion, but again, it got a first-place vote. And Georgia Southern, 53 points, but it got a first-place vote. And Coastal Carolina, 45 points, but it got a first-place vote. James Madison got the rest of them with 11. So it's an interesting preseason coaches poll. What does it mean? Just an order predicted finish. Hey, this is what we think. You had to ask us today, so we had to answer. This is what we think. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it a indicator of where the coaches think you are? Coaches, how much do they really know? They do regard Marshall well, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But Georgia State finished 7th in the East last year. It's picked 7th again. ULM finished 7th in the West Division. It's picked 7th again. I mean, Georgia State only got 17 points. ULM got 19. Great things to talk about. It's nice. It's bulletin board material for some. I mean, if you're App State, you're looking at this going, we're 6th. We finished 6th. The aura is gone. I saw that actually on social media. Someone said the App State aura is gone. No, it's just tougher to win every year. I don't think the aura is gone. I mean, Marshall fans expect Marshall to be number 1 every year. App State fans expect App State to be number 1 every year. James Madison, a little sense of entitlement there, expect James Madison to be number 1 every year. So this isn't really a true representation of what Marshall's got, where Marshall's going to end up. Just, okay, the coaches see some familiar faces, recognize that Carlos Del Rio Wilson probably is the best offensive player in the league right now. He gets Offensive Player of the Year, automatically makes him the quarterback, the first team. So there's a lot that goes into this. At the end of the day, James Madison and Troy, the favorites because, well, James Madison and Troy won the division last year. So they're going to be the favorites again until otherwise knocked off their perch. Tyler Kennett, HD Media, joins us in a few minutes, and then we'll get your text, and we'll do that at 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255 to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Tyler Kennett joins us on the other side of the break as you listen to The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Shop from people that care about the bluegrass.
Fast, friendly, and ready when you are. Clark's Pump and Shop.
Hey, stop at Clark's before we hit the pool.
At Clark's Pump and Shop, we care about the community. Download the Clark's Rewards app and save on fuel, snacks, and drinks all season long.
Clark's was a great call.
Cool off at Clark's Pump and Shop.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, I'm Elise Smith, First Lady of Marshall University and founder of the Women Warriors Summit. The summit is back this fall, and we're bringing an incredible day to Huntington, West Virginia. Join us Friday, October 23rd, as women from across Appalachia and beyond come together for the power of reinvention. This year, we'll talk about what it means to grow, change, and begin again at every age and every stage. And we have an amazing lineup to lead that conversation. Brooke Shields, actress, best-selling author, entrepreneur, and advocate for women, will join us as our keynote speaker. Amy Purdy, 3-time Paralympic medalist, best-selling author, and co-founder of Adaptive Action Sports, will serve as MC and speaker. Expect big stories, fresh ideas, and a room full of energy. Thinking about your next move? Visit WomenWarriorsSummit.com to learn more. I hope to see you there.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with this Tuesday edition of Your Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line is open, and we'll get to those comments in just a few minutes at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Our next guest has made the trip to the Sun Belt Conference Media Days. He'll be for the next couple of days speaking with all the coaches, commissioners, including Carlos Del Rio Wilson. He'll be speaking with Tony Gibson, but he's speaking to us right now. Tyler Kennett from HD Media joins us. And Tyler, this is a good time to catch up with you because, as Coach Huff used to say, this is talking season, and it's time for some talking.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing quite a lot of it in the next couple of days. I've got one-on-one interviews with every coach and Commissioner Gill, and then Marshall's players. I didn't want to stretch myself too thin and interview absolutely everybody, but I guess that's my job. So talking to everybody, I think the first coach I've got is Coach Napier for James Madison tomorrow morning. So we'll get right into the swing of it bright and early about 7 and get going.
You got the memo, of course, that the Offensive Player of the Year preseason, Carlos Del Rio Wilson. So, you got the note, just the rest of us. And you saw where Marshall ended up in the preseason rankings. You saw how many players Marshall was able to land on the all-conference teams. Just what's your general read of where Marshall ended up, what the expectations are based off what the coaches are at least thinking?
Yeah, man, I think I've done a handful of these at this point. This is it really is like it's a joke, but like the talking season for me, because I have so many different people previewing their opponents, and they always reach out to me to call them real quick. And I did one where there's a guy from Omaha who was doing every single team in the country. He was calling like one person who covers the team everywhere. And I did it last year, and we kind of joked after that it was just like a complete shift in just the way that I talk, because excitement is probably not the right word for me, because I say it all the time. My job doesn't change either way. I hope they do well and everything is good and all that good stuff, But I think the offense is really, really, really good. Haven't seen anything yet, obviously, but when you return that much at this level, it kind of shows. People are excited. They see, Toby and Adrian Norton and Carlos, Barbie, Slappy, Tariq Montgomery, all those guys get picked, and you just kind of have like a slew of guys all the way up and down the list that are capable of being the best guy out there any given day. I think the defense is one that's a little bit, still questionable, if you will, just because we don't know yet. But with Lodi and what Daquan Smith's been able to do, and how well the community really rallied around him last year too, and everything. I think that I think things are just looking up. Being projected to go third in the East when you're comparing yourself with a pair of 10-win teams from a season ago, one of which that went to the college football playoff. It's probably not where you want. Like everybody wants to be number one, but that's a great spot to be in, I think, from what people expect.
Third's a good place. Marshall was fifth in the final standings last year, so Marshall goes to third. And, of course, Coastal Carolina was third last year in the standings, and the poll drops fifth. I thought it was curious. James Madison is your odds-on favorite, so it gets 11 first-place votes. It obviously has a lot to prove, has a lot coming back. When you win, people expect you to continue to win. Old Dominion gets a first-place vote. Georgia Southern gets a first-place vote. Coastal gets a first-place vote. Marshall doesn't get any of that, but still manages third. So there's probably a lot of regard for Marshall from the coaches, just not, hey, we don't think you're going to win it, but we think you're going to be really good vibe.
Yeah, I think it's ethical voting by Coach Gibson to not pick his own team. I don't know if that's happening everywhere else. I have no clue who voted for who, but it's kind of funny because I think that, preseason polls being what they are, I've always said that I think they're kind of ignorant because what do you know? Especially with like Coach Napier taking over JMU, they did lose some guys and they bring some guys back. It's a mix of what to expect. But I think that Coach Beals in baseball talks about the preseason polls really well when we say that they're kind of a sign of like what you did last year and like the respect that you earned last year being translated to this year. And James Madison should be the favorite for the East 100% because you made it to the college football playoff, and it's kind of hard to, say that you're the dog until you take it over. You know what I mean? I think even in the West, Troy was incredible last season, and they bring back so much. I was doing some research to get ready for tomorrow, and both the guys that they're bringing are preseason player of the year award winners in the defense and special teams. So that'll be exciting. I think that the benefit for Marshall is that you put it on paper last year, and now you kind of bring the same sheet back. You have a lot of the yards, passing, rushing, and receiving. I think it's over 1,000 each. Obviously, you have Carlos back, so you get all that. And really happy for Carlos. I think that's a very deserved award. I think that he's probably far and away the best quarterback that's returning this year in the conference.
I do like these awards. Now, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of the preseason poll because I don't think it means anything. It's just, hey, here's what we think you're going to do. We base a little bit of it on what, as you mentioned and I've talked about. And if you go down the list, East Division almost mirrors the standings from last year. The West Division's a little bit more jumbled only because I think the West was a little tighter. You throw in Louisiana Tech into the mix, and it's not exactly it's not chalk. Not as much as the East just about is. But at the end of the day, I don't think Coach Gibson's looking at this and going, okay, well, we're third. We're the third best team. But I'm sure he's looking at, okay, they do regard us well because of the players that made first team and go down the list. And, of course, you can't tell me that Carlos, like you said, I agree with you. You can't tell me he's not the best quarterback in the Sun Belt right now, and I think that's going to help this team a long way. But at the end of the day, it's just, hey, here's what we think you're going to do. These really are great awards, and they mean something. But what would you rather have? Preseason Offensive Player of the Year, postseason in a championship, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if ifs and buts, Merry Christmas, all that. That's one of those things where it's good to have, and I'm sure it's a motivating factor for some people. And because I've always been curious, I feel like there's two types of people that I talk to about it at any level of coaching. It's either bulletin board material, you put it up and you look at it and you're like, hey, this is either one of two things. They were either picked really low or they were picked really high, and it's like, let's go prove ourselves right, that we believe in ourselves. Because every single team I want to talk to them tomorrow I'm not even going to ask them what their goal is, because what is it? They want to go win the whole thing. They want to go win it all. It's more about like what you think you have that you can accomplish that goal with. And I think that Marshall has a really strong case for it. Of we have that foundation, set it, come back, and it's like, yeah, it's great that these players are being honored and have all of these accolades and everything else with it. But now it's time to put it on the paper, and then show it and do it,
Tyler Kennett's with us, HD Media. He has made the trip to cover Sun Belt Conference Media Day. It begins tomorrow for the Thundering Herd. Marshall's going to be on the stage a little bit later in the afternoon. Of course, the podium will be on ESPN+. Tyler, of course, has the great spot of being able to sit down with these coaches, all of them, and kind of get a few things that maybe we're not going to hear on the podium, because you know how these things go. They're going to be asked a few questions, right? Yeah. And they're going to be generic questions, because mostly everybody that wants to ask questions already there, and they're going to ask those individually. So I'm excited for what you're going to be able to get out of Coach, but I'm more interested, at least at this point, of what you're going to have for the rest of the league. And I'm very curious about Louisiana Tech, because that's a whole different vibe here. Louisiana Tech replacing Texas State, and it was a journey for Louisiana Tech to get into the Sun Belt or get back to the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how that's going to look tomorrow, what they're thinking, how people are reacting to them. What's your early impression of maybe what people are saying, how people are reacting, or just how are you reacting?
I don't know if this is like a thing I can say, but I don't care to say it. I got asked to do like a media poll for the Sun Belt to start this year, and I kind of threw Louisiana Tech like in the upper half of the West. I felt like that was what a lot of the coaches did too in the coach poll. It's kind of like, what do you put, like you don't think that, it's kind of the thing of Troy and JMU, that's who you kind of expect to go at it again. So you pick them at number one. And where do you really go from there? Louisiana Tech had some good games last year, won the bowl against a future Sun Belt opponent, so it's like there's a lot of room there for them to improve and do well. I haven't like dived too deep into the waters of what every individual team does. I think the way that I'm going to approach it, just to like answer your question, is like every coach is going to get asked essentially the same group of questions. Like how's your retention looking? What is your quarterback situation looking like? How do you feel about the team and stuff like that? I think that what I want to do with the one-on-ones is kind of just like learn the people a little bit more. I think that for me, like a lot of the discussion with Louisiana Tech is just going to be about essentially, what's it like to be in the league and like what does this place bring to the table? Because we've heard everyone say about how much like the regional rivalries and all the impact that Louisiana Tech can have from the conference, but I'd like to hear it from, the people themselves. So I think that's, and another thing too, of like Coach Parker from Troy's from Louisa, there's not very many people who care about that except for like us and our audience, so probably spend some time talking to him about that and that kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be one of those things where you kind of get a decent feel for every team, what they think they're got going into fall camp and all that stuff. And not a whole lot of quarterbacks that will be in attendance. No Lunch Winfield from Louisiana is one of them that will be there. A couple other guys, obviously Carlos will be there. So those guys are, I feel like the teams that bring their quarterbacks last year had some success because you had that like established piece, so it's, I think a lot of this is just figuring out how teams feel in terms of their turnover, because that's, for me, that's like the big thing at this level of football is what did you bring back? Like, did you have to completely restart your team over and reinstall everything, or did you have a baseline? And I felt like Marshall in the spring when we talked to Coach Gibson and everything, it was a conversation more about how things are going well and how things are smoother and all that stuff.
Our guest is Tyler Kennett, HT Media. He's going to be covering Sunbelt Conference Media Days. You're going to be covering both days, so you get the East, you get the West. You're going to have a lot to follow up on throughout the weeks leading up to the football season. I know there will probably be some interesting stories that we don't even know about just yet that you're going to find out. I'm curious about did you see this? And I didn't see it all, but I caught where there was conversation and maybe there would be a governor's cup between the Louisiana schools. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I haven't. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I thought I saw that on social. And of course,
Cool.
I gave it okay. I didn't actually go all the way through, but I thought that was interesting because you look at the makeup of the Sun Belt, you bring in Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is going to mean a lot to those West Division teams. Your travel is going to be a lot better for so many of those schools. You're not going to Texas State anymore. And I know that was a burden for some of the schools in the West. It might not mean as much for the schools in the East, but that decision to bring them in, it almost felt like, all right, there are two different distinct sides of this conference, East Division and West Division, almost as if both sides have a culture, that's unique to the division.
Yeah, and I think too that like just my perspective of like I flew this year, thankfully, but last year I drove, and I went through Mobile and Hattiesburg to get to New Orleans, and it was like you kind of just felt by doing that, I did at least, like it makes a lot of sense now because I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like you're basically taking a school and moving it, I don't know how many miles, like east, so it's like you kind of shrink everything down a little bit, and I feel like the travel will be a lot better for most of the schools involved. And all that to say, so it's like the three. I know some people don't like that there are three Louisiana schools, but it just makes sense. It's like I've never understood the concept that like your average Joe wants every conference to be regional, but then when the Sun Belt added Louisiana Tech, there were so many people who were upset about it. It just makes so much sense to me, at least. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I think that it's just a good pickup. And the teams had some success. Made a bowl and everything last year, so it's not like you're adding the worst team ever into it. You know what I mean?
I would say, and this isn't to argue with what you just said, but I would say that you're right. People like regional matchups, but this wasn't the regional matchup that the East Division teams wanted. You heard it was Western Kentucky. Ohio was thrown out there. How serious all of that was, we don't know. But it wasn't, hey, we like regional matchups as long as it's our regional matchup, because I really do feel like there's two different conferences within the Sun Belt. I mean, a majority of those people that are covering this event, they drove. You flew. There is a distinct difference in the West and the East culture to a degree. And it is because the East Division is a little further out than the West Division when you have events like this, or when you have the Sun Belt Conference basketball tournament, for example.
Yeah, it is quite a trip. I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm like upset. I'm sitting in New Orleans, like I'm having a decent time so far.
That's a great trip, right?
But yeah, like I'm enjoying it. But it is like, when you think about it, like everything being stationed here for this and everything, it's like the media presence tomorrow will probably be weaker than it is on Wednesday. I could probably actually look and tell you for sure. I know there's a lot more radio than anything, so that's like, for like how the sausage is made, like that kind of happens in another room where they all do their like coach show interviews and stuff like that. While the main stage is just kind of what it is. Like last year, I think I asked a question in every single presser because I just wanted to help fill time. You know what I mean? So it's interesting because, like, I don't know. I feel privileged to be in the situation, but it's like if I were Appalachian State or, a fellow Marshall reporter or something like that, it would not make a ton of sense to come all the way down here. But, I'm happy, so it's like I get to see everything, but it's definitely more skewed to the West at times. And, I don't think that there's like an immediate plan to like add another team. And I like that question's probably going to be like the first thing that gets asked tomorrow for Commissioner Gill and everything when he gets rolling. But, it just doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like that's on the radar right now. But, if we could all have our favorites in the conference, and then I'm sure a lot of people would add a team to the East next.
Or do you think maybe the league should just hold still right now because it
I
seems stable?
I think it's in a good spot. Because, I mean, like, I think about, like, Conference USA, and it's like that. It's almost like the war of attrition that came with so many teams left, and you had to just add a bunch of teams, and you're all over the place a little bit. And even like the MAC, like you're up in Buffalo now and stuff like that. And I don't know. I feel like it's hard to pull a team who is deeply ingrained in like where they're at. You know what I mean? Like Ohio was thrown around, but I just can't see Ohio being out of the MAC. You know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff.
I could see Western Kentucky
could
making that trip to the MAC, but since you heard the stories, you were following along that it was sort of a package deal, and Middle Tennessee did not like that landing spot. It felt like it was more of a Southern school, so it wanted to retain that identity because the Mid-American Conference is not a Southern league by any metric. No. It's a good league, and I thought it made sense, but I'm not the administration at Middle Tennessee, so I don't know what they need. All I know is what I thought was good. And I would have loved to see Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee in the Mid-American Conference, but Tyler, that's why I'm at this job and I don't actually have any commissioner power.
Yeah, I just see like people who make tweets all the time. It's like, what if we put like every team in like the Mid-Atlantic region like in one conference? And it's like, yeah, that would be awesome. But could you imagine like how? Because like we were talking about with Louisiana Tech, like getting one team to come in was a struggle, So it's like these things take a lot of time. I feel like the conference is in a good spot. That'll probably be the message that's said tomorrow.
Our guest is Tyler Kennett, HD Media. He's going to have full coverage of Sunbelt Conference Media Day. That doesn't mean Marshall. That means everything Commissioner Gill. He's going to have an interview with him. He'll probably have player interviews as well for Marshall, all the coaches. What else are you looking forward to as you take the next couple of days to kind of immerse yourself in the city, the culture, and, of course, in the Media Day experience itself?
So the first thing I'm doing after I get off the phone with you, there's the food is great here, obviously, but there's like this one sushi restaurant that I really like, and it's like right next to where I'm at. And I've been thinking about going back ever since I came here last year. And it's like not the traditional thing you go to New Orleans to eat. It's so good. So I'll probably do that and walk around. It's a really walkable place. I don't know if I would come back here for like a vacation because it's kind of not like everything that I like to do in the night and all that kind of stuff. But I really like it here. I think it's really comfortable. I was talking to the guy who kind of drove me from the airport to my hotel, and he's lived here all his life. And we were talking about like it's a really comfortable place. So I'm excited to just go around, walk outside, and all that stuff. It's not as hot this year, so that helps to where I'm not like burning up, walking around. It's everywhere. So it'll be a good time. I'll be here till Friday morning. I'm leaving. So
okay, so sushi. That was
yes.
I can get on board with that. I just wasn't expecting to hear it was sushi. That was where you were going first.
It's called Rock and Sake. It's like a classic rock themed sushi restaurant.
Really?
And I ate there 3 times of the 4 days I was here last year.
Okay.
So good. But I also just like sushi and that like food. So a lot of good stuff. I need to branch out a little bit more this year. I had some like Creole stuff earlier today. It was pretty good. So
okay, so you're doing the sushi. You branch out a little bit. Anything in the music scene you're gonna be looking for? What you
I want to go to the Jazz Museum if I get time. I'm really into that, so I would hopefully do that. Last year I walked over to like the French Quarter and Bourbon Street and all that stuff. It was really cool, but it was just really busy. So it's, I kind of like the more laid back stuff. There's a couple of casinos I might go to and just hang around and see what they got going on, that kind of stuff. So
Tyler Kennett's with us, HD Media, spending the next few days covering Sunbelt Conference Media Day. So do you like the blues? I mean, I hear New Orleans is the place to be for the blues.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like it. I mean, when I was at the college radio at Marshall, I did music director and all that stuff and got into a lot of jazz and was doing charts for jazz and stuff like that. Kind of grew a love for it that I don't like think I would have had if I didn't do that. It's not like I'm like spending all day listening to jazz music or anything, but I have a lot of appreciation for it because like where I grew up, my high school music and stuff like that, we did a lot of like jazz history and stuff like that. So I really find it interesting. So hopefully I get the time to go there. I didn't get to go last year, and I was kind of like, I hope I get to go back and do it this time.
Yeah, I think I want to do a Memphis trip. So, I can get the serious blues, but then get the New Orleans experience because you're going to get some of the blues as well, but you're also going to get as you mentioned, you're going to get the jazz experience. You're going to get the Louis Armstrong kind of vibe going on. Yeah, the real serious jazz. And, of course, as you mentioned, it is the birthplace of jazz. And you get special things that only you can get in New Orleans. There's
a lot of people who just like play music on the road, or on the side of it's awesome on the streets and stuff. Like you just don't really see that where we're at as much. Like I feel like I actually saw someone doing that the other day in Huntington. It was awesome, but it's like a really fun place to just walk around. I feel like I'm just like the tourist bureau director for New Orleans right now, and I don't know everything about it, but I really like it. You know, it's probably my favorite trip I look forward to for the coming year and everything.
Yeah, that's what I do. I don't get to travel as much as I'd like to, but when I do get the rare opportunity, I like to absorb a place. And so you picked a great place to go absorb, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Tyler Kennett's with us, HD Media. We'll try to get you back maybe tomorrow if your schedule permits, because, of course, we're going to hear Coach Gibson. We'll get the bullet points from the podium. Everybody's going to hear that, and it's going to be the standard stuff. I'm curious about the next few days because I know, you're pretty much the frontline guy for Marshall right now on this. So I'm excited to hear what you got to say, what happens at these meetings, and hopefully we'll get some interesting stories that come from it. And then you can maybe bring some food back for us. Can you squirrel something away maybe quickly?
Might be able to. It would probably be really cold. But
that's fine.
Do my best.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll chance it. I mean, because it won't be that long of a plane. Yeah, you could bring that on, right? Carry on. Yeah, just a couple baggies.
I don't know. Or that they'll confiscate it at security, and I'll be mad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that thermos full of food for Paul and is coming back. It's not getting past the security checkpoint. Tyler Kennett's with us. He is from HD Media. Of course, that includes the Herald-Dispatch, and he'll have a multitude of stories for at least, the next couple of weeks, you imagine? You'll have something probably new every day.
Yeah, probably from this point out up until the football season. I think the plan is to do a story on every team, something on every coach, kind of get it going, and obviously all the Marshall stuff rolling in the fall camp, and then we'll get into the swing of it back into 8 to 10 a week type of stuff,
Tyler Kennett, our guest. Go enjoy that sushi. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, having fun.
Tyler Kennett, everyone. You can read his stuff in the Herald-Dispatch or any of the HD Media properties. Quick timeout. We will get your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Big news, Cabell County. King's Tire Service is now open on Route 60 in Ona, across from Cabell Midland. For more than 55 years, we've been serving West Virginia with automotive excellence you can trust. We do more than just sell tires. Our ASE certified technicians are ready to handle all your repairs. From your daily driver to the heavy-duty demands on the job, our philosophy at King's is simple. We never promise more than we can deliver, and we always give you more than you expect. Stop by our brand new Ona location today or visit us at kingtireservice.com.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi. Now, Brad, are you ready for a snackadelic summer?
Rev up the fan, Tony. It's time to head to Gomart and grab one of 7 specially marked items to score bonus reward points. Plus, 30 cents off every gallon of gas.
That's right, baby. More munchies, more miles, and don't miss your shot to win a $1,000 gas gift card. That's enough fuel to drive the van all the way to the next decade.
Sign up for Gomart Rewards at Gomart.com because this summer, the snacks are groovy and the savings are real. Stay groovy, Gomart style.
Summer starts here. It's Moses Auto Mall of Huntington 9th Street Live every Friday night in Huntington. Presented by Michelob Ultra, White Claw, Big Timber, and Country Boy Brewing. Friday, July 17th, it's Collins Career Center Night featuring William Matheny with Charlie Overman. The Little Caesars Kid Zone is back, and Gomart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy 9th Street libations from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station, featuring Tito's, Milagro Tequila, Rebel Bourbon, High Noon, and Lucky One. The after-show party takes place at Jerk Riley's at Pullman Square. Mark your calendar for August 7th for Ona. The Thundering Herd Rally with Madhouse is August 14th. Sponsored by Wendy's, Huntington Beverage Center, Sods, Apex Tech, The Great Outdoors Marine, Village Caregiving, Thoroughbred Express Wash, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, Marshall Health Network Arena, and Kendrick Communications.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, 10:06, it is Metro News Talk Line. Dave Wilson, TJ Meadows. They'll take you through the day's events, and you can text in as well. It's all right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, and you can text us now at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter writes in, not off topic, but slightly off topic. What do you like more, jazz or blues? I like blues better. I like jazz, though. I like both, to be honest with you. Jazz is a tremendous genre of music. But I like the blues a little bit more. I like B.B. King. And, he's probably the most famous voice in blues music. And I probably am, and just more primarily, I like B.B. King, but I like just in general blues music. But at the same time, growing up, who didn't know Louis Armstrong, right? Who didn't know Satchmo? And you have that style of Dixieland jazz that really is a different flavor altogether. And the one thing that, I don't want to sound morbid here, but if I had the means, I would have a jazz funeral in downtown Huntington. If I had the means. I'm not going to have the means. It's not going to happen. But I would have a jazz funeral because it's such a way to mourn and honor at the same time. I mean, it's a celebration. And I'm in on that. I mean, somebody passes away, you celebrate what they were, who they were, and you still mourn. And it's partially an opportunity to mourn. It's also an opportunity to celebrate. And I just think that's a cool thing. If you can say, hey, when talking about a funeral, hey, that's a cool thing. I think the jazz funeral is a tremendous expression. And so, New Orleans, great place to go to see all of this. I would do a jazz funeral, again, if I had the funds and the means to do that. Maybe a GoFundMe, right? Paul Swann's GoFundMe. He wants a jazz funeral when it's all said and done. And let's hope that's in another, 50 years? Yeah, 50, 55. I'm not pushing it here. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That is the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Texter writes in and says, Paul, you're absolutely right. The Sun Belt feels like it's two different conferences with the East and West. Appreciate the thoughts on that. The reason being is the geography's there, the regionality is there. I mean, I think the West is a little tighter of a group because now you have 3 teams in Louisiana. And so it's all right there. And you'll see somebody that went to Louisiana Tech. If you're a Louisiana grad, you know someone that went to ULM, you know someone that went to Tech, they know you. And so you can get after it a little bit more, and I think that brings something to the table. For Marshall, when you look at the Sun Belt, Marshall doesn't exactly have that next-door neighbor. I mean, I don't know too many people that went to James Madison. I don't know too many people that went to Old Dominion. Georgia Southern, Georgia State. Now, there are connections and relationships here. Coastal Carolina. I mean, you can get to all these places, but it's not like ULM and Louisiana Tech. Arkansas State, it's not like that. It's not like Georgia Southern and Georgia State. It's not like that. And, of course, Georgia Southern, App State, a little closer as well. But it does feel sometimes like they're two different groupings, and so it should. East Division, West Division. It's exciting. It's sort of like the American League and the National League, which is coming up tonight 7 o'clock airtime. All-Star Game right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We'll take our final break, come back, get more of your text on this edition of The Drive.
Hometown Chevrolet is your home for the new 30-mile-per-gallon Chevy Trax SUV with 0% financing available. They also have 0% financing for a full 5 years on new 2026 Chevy Silverado 1500s. Plus, no payment for 90 days and free oil changes for life. Their used vehicles are priced to move with the payments you want. From low APRs to credit rebuilding, they've got you covered. Together, let's drive. Hometown Chevrolet, Waverly, Ohio. The heartbeat of America. Everything you need right here at home. Offer ends 8/3/26.
Save big on your landscaping project now at Menards. We make it easy for you to enhance your outdoor living space with the largest in-stock selection of concrete landscape block. Ready to take home today. Build a fire pit or retaining wall with our tumbled Belgian wall blocks. On sale now. Save big on your landscaping project at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
T-Mobile has an exclusive bundle for customers 55 and up.
I'm Sarah Bowl.
Yeah, I'm Frank Bowl.
A reliable network is key for us. And with T-Mobile, it's been wonderful. And going to the 55-plus plan saved us so much money.
A lot.
And that's important. Trying to keep costs down. The home internet's been perfect. It's fast, it's quick. The setup was so easy, it took less than 15 minutes.
It was like, ta-da! If you want simplicity, coverage, reliability, you want the whole package, T-Mobile has it.
Right now, T-Mobile customers 55 and up can get 2 phone lines on America's best network, plus America's fastest 5G home internet for just $30 each.
$30 per month each line with autopay plus taxes and fees. Minimum age 55. Pricing for home internet rely on 2 lines of essentials. Choice 55. $35 connection charge per line required. Best mobile network and fastest 5G home internet based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence Data 2H 2025. All rights reserved.
Summer starts here. It's Moses Auto Mall of Huntington 9th Street Live every Friday night in Huntington. Presented by Michelob Ultra, White Claw, Big Timber, and Country Boy Brewing. Friday, July 17th, it's Collins Career Center Night featuring William Matheny with Charlie Overman. The Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy 9th Street libations from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station, featuring Tito's, Milagro Tequila, Rebel Bourbon, High Noon, and Lucky One. The after-show party takes place at Jerk Riley's at Pullman Square. Mark your calendar for August 7th for ONA. The Thundering Herd Rally with Madhouse is August 14th. Sponsored by Wendy's, Huntington Beverage Center, Sods, Apex Tech, The Great Outdoors Marine, Village Caregiving, Thoroughbred Express Wash, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, Marshall Health Network Arena, and Kendrick Communications.
Charlie died after taking a single pill that turned out to be counterfeit.
He was having back issues, and it was a counterfeit poisonous pill.
Websites and social media selling fake medicines may look legitimate, but they're not. Drugs from these rogue pharmacies could have fillers like sawdust or deadly fentanyl.
He died in less than 15 minutes after taking the pill.
Now there's a free tool that can give you peace of mind. At safe.pharmacy, enter the pharmacy web address, and you'll know if the site you're using is safe.
If you're not getting your prescriptions from a legitimate source, that next dose you take could be your last.
We just don't want other people to go through what we're going through. It's just horrific.
Go to safe.pharmacy. Find out about fake medicine on social media and if the site you're buying from is safe.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in West Virginia.
This message presented by the West Virginia Secondary School Activities Commission and the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
It's our final segment for today's edition of The Drive, but we got plenty of time for you. You can get those texts in now, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter writes in and says, Paul, do you really think Marshall is just the third best team in the East Division? Appreciate the text. I think it's fair right now. Until you prove it, James Madison is the top school. Until you prove otherwise. Old Dominion earned a lot of respect. James Madison earned a lot of respect. But Marshall moving from 5th and where it finished to 3rd in the coaches' polls, I think that's a lot of respect right there, and didn't even receive a first-place vote. So that shows to me that people think that Marshall will be a good team in this league and will be a contender, and I think that the preseason awards indicate the respect that Marshall has received. Now, with Carlos Del Rio Wilson as the quarterback, and I'm very confident in his abilities and this offense, if the defense is better than it was last year, if this defense shows to be much improved, I think that's going to make up for some of the problems that Marshall had to deal with last year. Because if Carlos is even better than where he was last year, and I believe he is, and then you throw in guys like Toby Payne, you throw in Adrian Norton, you feel good about them. You feel good about that offensive line. Tariq Montgomery, you feel good about that, having him there. And I feel good about him there. Don't you? And then you throw in a Jalen Slappy, and you feel really good about where you're at on the offensive side of the ball. You just got to ask yourself, can the defensive side of the ball hold up its end of the bargain? And I think there's a strong possibility that it's going to be much improved. I don't have any doubt in my mind that this defense won't be improved, especially with a year as a head coach under his belt now. So you come in, you've got an idea of what worked, what didn't work. I mean, I'm not saying last year was a throwaway, but I am saying that, hey, you just don't walk in and win the national championship. You got to do that in like a year 2 or 3, Indiana, if you know what I mean. You just don't walk in and it's ready to go. You got to make sure that everything's in place, and I think now Marshall's in a good spot in football with this team, and we'll see. Is it work in progress? Absolutely. It's going to be a work in progress every year. But I'm confident now with the offense, we're going to see a little bit more exciting brand of football. Would you agree? Especially with Carlos. He's going to be a little wiser. He's going to understand more. That's what happens. You go from year to year, and you've got someone who gives you that veteran experience now. And you have some really good pieces in place that will help put this offense to the next level. And with that said, we're done. And of course, hopefully I'm right, and hopefully that the offense and Marshall prove me right. If not, we'll be here no matter what. That's going to do it. Back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. For those of you listening live radio side, we got the Major League Baseball All-Star Game coming up tonight. 7 o'clock is going to be airtime here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to thank our guest, Tyler Kennett from HD Media. He is in New Orleans covering the Sun Belt Conference Media Days. Looking forward to following his stories on HD Media and the Herald-Dispatch. Have a great night, everyone. I will talk to you tomorrow.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.